you're watching this video and don't know much about sea turtles, then you're about to learn some things you never knew before. And if you didn't know that we get our food, our water, our shelter, and our technology from nature, listen up. 2 things you need to know. First thing, climate change. Climate change refers to long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. Now, these shifts have always been happening, but since the 1800s, human activity has been the main driver of climate change, mainly because of the burning of fossil fuels like coal, like oil and gas, which creates heat-trapping gases. Second thing, conservation status. The conservation status of a group of organisms indicates whether the group still exists and how likely the group is to become extinct in the near future. It's basically a measure of survivability. But before I get into the future of sea turtles, let me tell you about my recent past. I spent the fall 2021 semester working in the FAU Marine Science Lab, which is a lovely research facility run by scientists who are doing the great work of learning more about these sea turtles. As a matter of fact, it's the only laboratory in the world that successfully raises leatherback sea turtles. I helped them with husbandry and public outreach through the Sea Scholars program. So many things I learned there were fascinating, like hearing about the research that they were conducting at the time, which I'll get to in a second, or even just like when you walk into the building, there's all these huge tanks of water where they keep the baby sea turtles at. It was fun. There was a lot of things I learned there, but some of the things I learned there were disheartening. Beyond the fact that some sea turtles get caught in fishing nets or mistake plastic pollution for food, some things you might have seen before, there are other lesser known problems that afflict these reptiles. Now, what you've got to keep in mind is that these are reptiles with what is known as temperature dependent sex determination. That means the sex of a sea turtle hatchling is dependent on the temperature of the sand that the eggs are laid in. Generally, when the sand is cooler, the hatchling will be a male. When the sand is hotter, the hatchling will likely be a female. And when you consider that the planet has been steadily getting hotter year after year, you can understand how the sea turtle sexes are being affected. As a matter of fact, the Marine Lab has been researching this phenomenon, and their data says that over 90% of all sea turtles born on Boca Raton beaches in the last 20 years have been female. But you might be thinking, well, that data only applies to Boca Raton, Florida. Florida is a very hot state, so isn't it possible that that data doesn't apply to other U.S. states and the turtles in other countries? And to that, I'd say good question, but if the entire planet is getting hotter, wouldn't all sea turtles on Earth be affected? Isn't the trend going to be more and more female sea turtles being born because the conditions required for males to be born is becoming less and less of a reality? My point is that the direction that these sea turtles are going is towards an unbalanced population, one where there are so many female sea turtles and so few male sea turtles in the ocean that it becomes extremely difficult to reproduce. If a male and female sea turtle can never physically find each other, how are they going to make more turtles? How will we maintain the valuable addition to biodiversity that these sea turtles are? The answer is, we might not. We could live in a world that has lost its sea turtles, who've been in existence for over 100 million years. They could all just be gone soon and leave that void in the ocean. But if you've been listening to the scientific community at all, you know that that sad reality is preventable. Another thing, if you look at the ocean and the melting glaciers, you might have wondered, what's going on with that? What's happening? Let me explain. Imagine you're in your kitchen and you take an empty glass and you put it on the countertop and you want some water. So you pour some water in there and you throw some ice in there too. Let's say there's like 100 milliliters of water and there's some ice. And you walk away from it for like 15 minutes. You walk back and you look at the glass and you see, oh, the ice is melted. And oh, it's not that 100 milliliters of water from before, but now it's more like 120 milliliters. That's the basic idea of what's happening. The volume of water inside the glass has increased because the ice melted. So likewise with the ocean, the volume of water inside the ocean is increasing because the glaciers are melting. That's where the term rising sea levels comes from. Now the danger with that, the only reason I brought it up, is because when a female sea turtle lays her eggs, she comes onto the shore of the beach, she finds somewhere to lay her eggs, she'll dig a hole in the sand, lay her eggs in the hole, cover the hole up with the sand, and then head back into the ocean. And in about 2 months, those little sea turtles will hatch from their eggs, exit the nest, and head into the ocean. Normally, when this happens, there's a good distance between the nest and the ocean. But if the sea levels are rising, coming higher and higher and spreading onto more and more land, it becomes more of a possibility that these nests will get flooded. It's called saltwater inundation, and it means it's less likely that these developing embryos will survive. So without a safe place for their offspring to develop, how can we expect these sea turtles will survive? I mean, it's been estimated that only 1 out of every 1,000 sea turtle hatchlings will even make it to adulthood. Are they going to go extinct? I don't know. But if they do, you can be sure that it'll cause a chain reaction. If the sea turtles go extinct, suddenly the tiger sharks, the killer whales, and the ghost crabs, for example, are going to go hungry because there's no sea turtles around to eat like there once was. But not just that, you're going to see the sea urchins, the algae, the jellyfish, for example, are going to increase in population because the sea turtles aren't around to eat them like they used to. And the interconnectedness of these marine ecosystems begins to diminish and reflect imbalance. You might not think this matters to us as humans who live on the land, but that interconnectedness is not exclusive to marine ecosystems. In fact, the most profound lie that we've unconsciously accepted is that we live separately from nature, when in reality we rely on it. Every breath we take is evidence of how we are inextricably bound to nature and its processes. Let me give you one more example. In the 1970s, the bald eagle was on the verge of extinction. Our national symbol. It was endangered just like the sea turtles are right now, but amazingly, we saved them from extinction. By 2007, the conservation status of bald eagles went from endangered to least concern. We protected their habitats with the Endangered Species Act. We banned the insecticide that was decimating their populations. We cleaned up the mess we made. In short, we proved we could save a dying species. Now let's go back to the leatherbacks, a dying species that we can save too. And shouldn't we? Or do we only care about saving symbols? And look, I'm not here to burden you and only you with the weight of a problem that you didn't even cause, but the truth is the truth, regardless of how it makes you feel. If nature is crumbling apart and we rely on it for survival, why would we compromise our own well-being by not correcting the problem? We live in America. America has a governmental system which has the power to do good. And you can make it do good by voting for politicians who prioritize climate action. And if you can believe it, you can make a difference yourself. Your economic power. Your money is one of the most valuable tools you have available to impact change in a capitalist system. So if you support those businesses that are a part of the solution, doesn't it make you a part of the solution too? And at the very least, at least you'll have been on the right side of history because you tried to help us clean up the mess we made.